Hey there, it's Ryan Reynolds, and you are listening to Fearless in Devotion, the absolute worst podcast in all of football history. Go get them, guys.
Here they come, a mighty champions, raise your voices.
Cross on all, welcome back to Fearless in Devotion with Andy, Liam, Tim and me, Rhys. We are the Wrexham AFC podcast, sponsored, as you should know by now, by the Fat Boar Bar and Restaurant. Thanks to Rich and the team for their long-standing support. Andy, what are you doing, mate? You're dropping things.
Sorry, my phone fell off its phone stand.
Wow. It was all going so well. Well, we got plenty to discuss today anyway. The futures of Paul Mullin and Ollie Palmer, following those remarkable scenes in Welcome to Wrexham, Shaun Harvey as well as transfer rumour roundup. But first, Andrew, you have a newsletter to plug, this dead horse that you continually flog. Have you got the barcode ready and got yourself off mute?
Well, firstly, don't call it a dead horse because it's very much a going concern.
Okay, sorry.
And secondly, let me sort this out. I will be but a second.
Every week, this is coming up first.
There was complaints last week. There was like, it's a minute of dead air.
It's not
And
dead air.
is a crime.
You know it's coming
you
up
see
every
that?
week. Every week, you know it's coming up at the start, and every
Can you
week.
see that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
okay.
well,
Scan that on the newsletter. It's 15 quid. It's well worth the money. And that's it. No one needs to hear about the newsletter again.
It's like,
Andy, can I
it's
ask you a
like cyber
question?
warfare, isn't it? It's like cyber warfare.
Can I ask you a question? Do you get the analytics for it? Do you see how many people scan the barcode?
Well, I know that if we do a podcast, we put on a couple of extra people each week.
Come on.
So that helps.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah. And look, there's
Nice.
loads of good stuff in it. Honestly, it's worth the money.
Buy it so Andy can get a new octopus as his backdrop.
No, I don't want a new octopus.
Another octopus.
Well, it's just that table looks really lonely. So you could do an accompanying octopus for the other side of
Just
your
for the
head.
record, Andy's made me blur my background because he was unnerved by the fact that he could see my worldly possessions. There's nothing dodgy, but something there deeply unseated him. So yeah,
I just wasn't used to it, Liam. I'm used to seeing you either so out of focus that I can't see anything, or now that you've got a proper camera. I'm used to you blurring your background and all those dressing gowns and everything on the back. And that unsettled me.
Oh no, not nightwear. Bloody hell.
Yeah. Well,
I got Barry Chuckle, and so I win. Anyway, let's move on and talk about our first topic, which is: has Paul Mullin rung his own death knell at Wrexham AFC following his comments on Welcome to Wrexham? Tim, what did you make of it all?
Well, where do we begin? I think we should begin by having a quick discussion. Then we'll play some clips which I've took from the episode. But I just think I was very, very surprised how candid he was in that, and I wouldn't have at all been surprised if they said the latter part of this scenario that I don't really want to put and commit to say basically. But the fact that he's essentially used words like resentment and then gone on to say, I'm going to play for myself now, not try and play for other people. And it's like clearly talking about Phil Parkinson here. Then I just think the minute you essentially call out your manager on a TV show, that to me, there's no coming back from that. And we all want him. We all want to see him play in a Wrexham shirt again. But I just don't see how you can now. I don't see it. I mean, Ollie Palmer, by contrast, was a bit more digging his heels in. He's like, if I get a chance, I'm going to take it, and blah, blah, blah. Whereas Paul Mullin was a bit more philosophical, but with a kind of, I don't know, just a little bit. Like,
There was some bite to it, wasn't there?
Yeah. Should we play some bits? And then I'll just get everybody's thoughts. So this is the first bit, because obviously he has a bit of a chat with the mental health fellows, and it was Dan Donaghy, I think. So just have a quick listen.
I've been playing in my absence. I've been doing really well. But when the opportunity came, I thought that would be a chance to carry on from where we left off, and sort of didn't transpire. To be honest, from everywhere I've been to then only being allowed to play 4 games, just finding myself and being left off the team, I resented it. Carried that for weeks because I feel it was unjust.
So some words there, like I felt like it was unjust, and resentment and it carried it around with him. What's your take on that before we sort of delve into it a little bit further? Because I know we're kind of maybe people might accuse us of psychoanalyzing this, but this is quite a significant things, quite a significant statement that he's gone on record in saying this here. And I'm sure he's had chats with Parkinson behind the scenes about this entire situation. But to say what he's saying in such a candid fashion, you kind of wouldn't expect anything less of Paul Mullin. But I don't know. How does it sit with you, those comments from that first bit?
I think everyone in that episode was very careful about how they worded things. I think Mullin was. I think Shaun Harvey was later on in the episode, and I think Palmer was less so, but the sentiment was still there. I think Mullin chose his words very, very, very carefully. The resentment part. Look, I sort of get it. He's talking with his sort of coach, like the Sam Qatada. I think this Donachie is his sort of version of that. And you're gonna say all the feelings that are around you not being in the team, and resentment would be one of them, because he's been the main man for so long. They showed him scoring his 100th goal, but there's not been many since then. I understand what you're saying. If it's Mullin versus Parkinson, there's only going to be one winner. And I think Parkinson really summed it up when he was interviewed on the same subject of Mullin and Palmer, which was basically they haven't been scoring goals. And you can't have your strikers not scoring goals. And you've got to put sentiment to one side when we didn't think we'd have such a chance to get out of League One. And the reason we did it, I think, was because Parkinson made the brave decisions when he had to and was backed by the board to do that. And it could have been that if we weren't so high up the table, they may have thought, right, let's give Mullin another 10 games to get back into form, like we did in League Two, because we didn't really have anyone to bring in. But it was such a golden opportunity to go up that we went out and we broke the transfer record by bringing Sam Smith in. And I think bringing Sam Smith in, who's a very similar sort of player to Mullin, was what's really made him worry about his Wrexham future. If I was to say, would he play again for us in the Championship? Because I know that's one of his quotes. I'd probably say no, because I think he's not first choice anymore. I think to get himself, even if he has a great pre-season, he's still third or fourth in the pecking order, and he'll still be snatching at minutes here and there. I think for him to have that run, I think he needs to start games, especially, he's over 30 now. I think probably he might need to go somewhere else for those minutes.
Rhys, Liam, are we at a point now where, looking at that episode, we've really got to start separating our hearts from our heads when it comes to situations like this?
It's a difficult one to call because I don't think he's burnt his bridges particularly. I think the documentary is something which, in order for it to be successful, actually, it does require players to have those candid moments like Mullin did. The very fact that they showed it on screen tells you that. Whether he will actually play, though, is a different matter. I mean, there's different people have interpreted it different ways, but my interpretation is that he's someone that's psychologically and mentally got himself used to the fact that he might not play again, and that's a very real possibility. I mean, I find it hard to separate heart from head because people will say, oh, we shouldn't be looking back and we should look forward, and it's like, well, it wasn't so long ago where we had, I can't remember the last time we had, let's put it this way, we haven't had a striker like Paul Mullin, have we, who gets 100 goals in a few seasons. So I think emotionally, just let fans, if they are gutted about the fact that he's being phased out, let them be gutted, because it's a perfectly normal reaction. He's a hero to so many people. But I suppose couple that with the fact that I'm not going to suddenly start resenting Phil Parkinson for it, because I also understand that it is football and we do have to progress. But I am sad about it. I'm really sad about it.
I think what Andy said on here a couple of weeks ago was spot on, which is that because we got promoted, it's irrelevant. however you get promoted, that's Phil Parkinson's job, and he did it. And I think there are we discussed this in the run-in where we felt there were games where it would have been perfectly acceptable to give, and actually a lot of us felt Mullin deserved 20 minutes to come on because we were struggling a little bit at times. You had a couple of patches where we weren't doing much up front, and the forward replacement was Mo Farr. So if the decision is goals, then I'm not sure that's totally fair. The only bit that I felt, I think what was really great, as Liam was saying, is that it was quite honest. Very honest. What would happen in most interviews is that they'd go, "Oh, I'm gutted. Like any footballer, I'm desperate to get back on the pitch. I really want to play, and I'll keep working hard." And we've all seen about a million interviews like that. So it was great to get that sort of rawness in it. As Tim says, though, the one bit that I did think was a little bit, was the bit, well, I'm just going to play for myself now.
Yeah.
That's the bit where I thought, okay, that ain't going to go down well with the manager at all. So it'll be interesting to see how it does.
On the back of that, just listen. I've got two more clips to play. We don't want to labour the point because no doubt there'll be people listening to this going, "No, we all know what the situation was. Mullin, move on." But obviously, we're just looking into the finer points of his comments. But this is a little bit about what he says about Parky basically not trusting him, and what Parky then subsequently says about both players. I think Parky's quite plays the sort of pragmatic card in this, understandably. But I will listen.
So, I don't know what's going to trust me less. It clearly does. Obviously, what's the best for the team?
It's not clear, mate. Can you start it again and put it right up by the mic somewhere?
Damn it. Okay. Did I get it wrong? Did I? All right. Hold on. Bye. Let me try that again, shall we?
It's difficult. I don't know what's caused him to trust me less. It clearly does. Obviously, what's the best for the team?
When we brought two strikers in January, we always knew we'd have a surplus of people who find themselves out of the 18-man squad because you can only have 7 substitutes. That's the way it is. Most didn't just quite get the goals, which he normally does. And I thought he had a good start of the season, Ollie, and his general performances were decent, but the goals didn't come. And we just needed more from the player in that number 9 role, really. So Paul and Ollie found themselves out there, 18-man squad. It's a harder level that we've been operating at. So both good lads, really good lads, have carried on training well for us. But it's tough. It's a competitive division to make the step up. It's not easy.
There you go. It's not easy. It's a competitive step up. I mean, reading between the lines, that's basically him saying you can't cut it at this level, in his opinion. Is that right?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just he wasn't getting the goals, and we had players that were, and so he's not getting back in the starting 11 or even the squad. While there's players who are still scoring goals there, I think I'm not sure he's saying there's no place for him. Who knows what might happen? I don't think it's necessarily the end.
There's one more. I'm not going to play it because it's horrible, really. Where he just basically says, "I'd love to score 1 goal for Wrexham in the Championship, and that would bring the whole story full circle." But he doesn't imagine he'll play any part in that whatsoever, which is commendable for him to be that realistic. But you can see how hard it is for him to concede that, like on the verge of tears.
It's horrible to watch, isn't it? But what's mad about it is, think back, or even if someone had said to you when the takeover happened 4 years ago, even before we signed Mullin, if someone had asked you, will any player who plays for us in the National League play for us in the Championship? You'd say absolutely not. That's mad. So even though he was coming down from a League One standard, that's kind of where he was at the time. Possibly there were some Championship clubs even sniffing around maybe when we signed him in the National League. He was really a League One player probably. To think that someone will have gone through 3 divisions is, a lot, especially a striker.
Will he go? Final kind of discussion this, but I mean, do you think he will go out somewhere loan or permanent?
I think it'd be interesting to know there was that clip on TikTok, wasn't there, of Rob McElhenney and Paul Mullin having a walk somewhere in the countryside. I think near the Wrexham Cheshire board. I'd love to have been a fly on the wall for that conversation because, clearly they didn't want it public. They didn't necessarily want it to be public knowledge, but it did become public knowledge. But you could see some. I just get this sense of acceptance from Mullin by the end of that interview, almost that it could happen. But if I don't want to say that we should give places based on sentiment, but if you were going to give one in that squad, it would go to him, surely, right?
I could see. I think the likelihood is that he doesn't, but I could see a situation where he does. We're probably going to sign one, maybe two really good strikers who they're going to be looking to lead the line this year potentially, and there's going to be room on the bench. Sam Smith could be injured. You never know. And if he hasn't gone somewhere this summer, there might be a place for him. And we all know he's good enough to score goals in the championship. Whether he is a championship level player, different matters. So I think unlikely to stay on and play for us, but definitely not impossible.
What about Palmer? I think that's it.
Yeah.
Palmer's going to be gone in the summer, isn't he? I think.
Yeah. I think, as Humphrey quite rightly said, age is not on Palmer's side. Now, you could sort of say that maybe if Mullin has a fantastic pre-season, puts all this resentment to one side and wows them, then he's still probably young enough to warrant a go in the championship, as long as he's happy to stay out the squad and on the bench, because that's the key thing as well, because he's been the main man for so long. Does he really want to be that far back, that far away from the team and bide his chance? I'd say no. I say he doesn't.
The difference for me between Mullin and Palmer in regards to this situation, if we go back to that episode again, is Mullin's more realistic in terms of where he can go, what he can achieve, and I think he's more accepting of the fact that he's never going to have this kind of spell of prolific scoring anywhere else. They've had the best days, career days at Wrexham. Same with Palmer, and I think Palmer's maybe struggling to acknowledge the fact that should he go anywhere else, he's never going to be able to replicate the level of effectiveness he's had at Wrexham, because it's been this golden period, and having to go elsewhere and find your fit and become a kind of main man again, or you become less of a main man, you just fit into a side and become part of a team again. I think that's probably more difficult for maybe him to accept than maybe Paul Mullin, but I don't see him staying either. Despite his words about fighting for a spot, etc. I can't envisage it.
How many days of public mourning when he does go?
I'd be gutted.
Yeah, me too.
I really would.
Yeah,
it's horrible, isn't it? But I mean, that shows you how legendary these players are. That's a fact. They're legends. They're club legends. And
the episode as a whole. So I have a very low schmaltz tolerance level, and that start with the Red Dragon poem or whatever it was had me absolutely cringing. No, that's not me. And I know I'd be in the minority here. I know people probably most people loved it and lapped it up. I hated it. And it was sort of talking about how we always battle against the odds and always sort of fighting. And I would go through that episode and say that the two people who that really sums up were Archie and the girl at the end, Pookie. It wasn't Mullin, it wasn't Palmer, and it wasn't Shaun Harvey. For me, they're well-paid professional people who may have had a bit of a setback, but those other two, that's what that was about. And I think that's really what the episode was about, because I was sort of coming onto the Lesotho thing at the end going, I'm not really sure why they put this in. It was like a bit of an advert, really.
I would have liked to have heard a bit more about her story, to be honest, because it was quite a throwaway sort of line. You thought,
when it got to that, absolutely stopped me dead, and I went, "Wow, this went dark, but it's important." So, sorry.
I was just going to say, like, I take your point on the dragon thing completely, because I've just got this thing of it's such a sort of almost lazy, overused symbol for Welshness, and it's like there's got to be more to us as a country than a dragon and a fucking daffodil and God knows what have you.
No, it's valleys, a dragon, daffodils, Transport for Wales. Andy, you're not a fan of Michael Sheen's rousing speeches, then?
Gavin and Stacey.
Nah, not really.
No,
that
The
sort of
first
stuff
one
never
was
does it
was
for
a
me.
laugh, and then when it came to the third or fourth one, it was like, okay, cool, are we still doing this, right? Okay, in a room full of people looking on awkwardly.
Yeah, I know, and I think that's what I thought when I got through that dragon bit at the beginning. Went, oh, thank God that's over, and then they brought it back, and then they brought it back again, and they're okay, no.
Right. You mentioned Shaun Harvey. Well, he had his redemption story. So I suppose the question is, do we believe that Liam still despises him? Liam?
I despise him as much as Andy despises James McClean. So,
That's a
Wow.
misunderstood hatred then.
misunderstood hatreds. Oh, okay.
That's
Oh,
that's another midweek pod.
we've struck onto a theme there. I'm going to play not the man but the ball here and say one thing I did think was missed out of that segment, whether we're talking about Reading, is the fact that they showed the protest at Reading, but there was not much context to it. I think the key context to that is that when Di Younger was allowed to take over the club, the Premier League had already done the whole fit and proper persons test on him and said no. And then the EFL turned around anyway and said, oh yeah, no, that's fine by us. So if Reading fans have got a reason to be resentful towards the EFL as an entity, as a whole.
Yeah, the EFL as an entity, because it's not Shaun Harvey's job to go through every application and go yes or no. And I think he was right what he said, that I'm a lightning rod for all that. And that's fair enough. I get him there. But you can't single out that person. You certainly can't make threats about his family. I thought that was absolutely disgusting. I can get why people would be annoyed. You know, when we were taken over by Alex Hamilton, we were annoyed. But we were annoyed with the chairman who was doing it rather than the governing body who let it happen.
These are positions that are quite, I guess, emotive in a way. You know, you talk about the 72, you're not talking about just overseeing your average business. You're talking about, these real community, heart of the community establishments that matter a lot to people. And I think sometimes perspective does go down the drain, and it shouldn't do. But as you mentioned, the sort of flip side to it is that people in these positions are also well paid to do that job, and people do have certain expectations. So it's a difficult one. No one should be getting threats. No one should be getting threats of kidnap or anything like that. But I also see, like the Reading side of it, the Blackpool side of it, with Owen Oyston, who shouldn't have been anywhere near a football club as well. So there's a balance to be had, I think.
Indeed.
That's my diplomatic view.
Good to know where you stand, Liam. Good to know where you stand. Why don't we move on to talk about the fixtures? Because crazily, it's just over a week, 11 days until the fixtures are released. Who do we want for the first 3 games? Why don't we ask that? We can't go through too much more. Or let's go for the first couple of games and also Christmas time. Who is there a fixture that you really want on a particular day? Why don't we start with you, Tim? What are you thinking?
Well, I kind of, you always think that the Boxing Day, New Year kind of ones always tend to be localish. So I think in my head, that's going to be kind of like a Stoke City, a kind of like a Boxing Day clash. I just think it's not a million miles away. It's hour and 10, give or take. So I think that's probably going to be that one. In terms of who I'd like to see the first couple of games, I mean, there's a lot of not conjecture, but a lot of talk of our first few matches being requested to be in an away game, so the pitch can settle in, the new pitch, etc., etc. But I would like to see, let me have a quick look at the table because there's so many that we've not been to. I would like to see us play a bit of a not nondescript, but a bit of a random one, like maybe Oxford United at home. So it's slightly underwhelming to a point, but just get it done out of the way. Oxford at home, job done. And then the second game away would be somebody like Watford. That'd be grand. So it's not all the big fishes too early. I know people want to get like a Southampton or a Leicester or whatever that may be, but I think we're going to get something early like that. Like I said, or it'll be the Charlton. It'll be the first game. Pick up where we left off not long ago. So that would be my pick. Nothing too over the top. Let's not have all the excitement too soon. Let's ease our way in. Let's get some points on the board.
Andy, anything jumping out for you?
I'm going to have to go to work for this. So there's a couple of people I work with. One's a Portsmouth fan, and one's a Preston fan. And for the last couple of years, they've been politely patting me on the head and going to games like Wheelstone with me, going, "Yeah, standard's a bit crap, isn't it?" So I'd love to play one of them and really stuff it up them. I think because they're both winnable games, and as Tim says, it's nice to get some points on the board, isn't it? You know, we had a fast start last season, so if we can continue that, it puts any sort of fears to bed for these players stepping up again. So I would take Portsmouth away, and then I'll take Preston at home as the next one, please. Round about Christmas, I think Tim's right. I think it'll be something quite local, but Stoke will be tasty. I think you take a bit of the needle out of it by making it 12:30 on a Boxing Day. I think that's what they used to do, isn't it? They used to put really close derbies on over Christmas just to sort of placate the crowd a little bit. You're full of turkey. You don't really want to go for a rock.
Andy Sky Sports Gilpin is going to send us all to Portsmouth on a Friday night, 8:00 kickoff.
Well, he has got his mate
back till 4 a.m.
He has got his mate Portsmouth Pete to think about, obviously.
Liam, what about you?
I quite fancy someone like Sheffield Wednesday away as like an early one to kick it off. Always love that fixture. Good stadium to go to. So yeah, I'd like that to start off with, and then maybe someone like QPR at home, because it just takes me back to the Dennis Smith first game. That 1-0 where he headed the ball back into the crowd. I've always got fond memories of that. And it just strikes me, I quite like the idea of your established championship clubs. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we do end up with someone like Leicester, Southampton. Just not saying that the fixtures are anything but randomised, but I wouldn't be surprised if for the TV cameras something like that happened. I was going to go Stoke sort of Boxing Day. I'll try and go for something different, actually, just because West Brom, because I think it'd be a bit boring if we all went for the same. So West Brom's another fixture I'm quite keen on. I think that would be a good one for maybe an away day on Boxing Day or something like that.
You know how much Sheffield Wednesday charge for away fans?
Ooh.
Or you know,
I got told by some Cardiff friends the other day that they charge 49 quid.
Oh,
I know. Yeah.
49.
Yeah, it's because they haven't got the
quid.
cap in the.
There's no cap, no. So the Wrexham tax is going to come into full effect. It's not going to be a cheap season. It'll be very interesting to kind of tot up. So anybody listening who does the games religiously inside out, and you're an adult or your family, if you want to keep tabs on how much it's going to cost you over a season, please do, because it'd be very interesting to see how much that's going to be.
Well, even if the other ones are close to that, that's going to be a significant difference over a season. That's bad news.
So I want to rinse everyone on the opening day, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to say, Southampton and Portsmouth appeal to me. Obviously, I'm a little bit closer than you boys are. Well, not Andy so much, but Southampton and Portsmouth. Obviously, people know I live in Swansea, so I'll be keeping an eye out for that game. That'll be a lovely Boxing Day one. Not so much for you, for you, Tim, because that'll be, well, God knows, is there even a train on Boxing Day? Lord knows.
We're all gonna do it, aren't we? It's gonna be amazing. The Lee Trundle, Dennis Smith, Steve Watkin derby.
Is the Dennis Smith derby also Oxford?
Ooh, yeah.
And Stoke. I wouldn't
Oxford,
say Swansea.
Stoke, and QPR. Not Swansea.
Dennis Lawrence is what I meant.
Dennis Lawrence. Yeah.
Dennis Smith.
I get those two confused all the time.
They look really similar.
Same height.
Definitely Oxford. It would have been Sunderland as well if they'd have stayed in. Bristol City as well. He managed them.
Oh, you're right. Oh God, it's Dennis Smith's derbies all over the gaff.
And did he manage West Brom as well?
Oh yeah.
You're asking the wrong bloke. But I am looking forward to West Brom as well, Liam. That will be a good one, to be fair. And also Birmingham City will be tasty after last season. I mean, are they going to be our new Stockport, aren't they? Probably.
Oh, they're getting linked with all. I won't rush into the transfer segment, but everything this week has been like Wrexham and Birmingham are interested in. Wrexham and Birmingham are interested in.
Yeah, agents working overtime.
Yeah.
Anyway, we will be back very soon. It's time for a short break, but when we come back, we will be hearing some transfer gossip. Who knows in the Randall Roundup? But we'll be back with you very soon. Thank you. Welcome back to Fearless in Devotion. It's time now for the Randall Roundup. Or was it Randall's Roundup? What are we calling it?
Right, singular, please. There's only one.
The Randall Roundup.
This is where I pause at this bit now because I see Andy's little face and his phone is sort of
Not working. Not working. Can't hear it.
like clockwork,
Yeah.
clockwork.
Absolutely, Shaun Harvey's favourite bit. This because he likes to see how wildly wrong you are.
We need Rhys to do his klaxon. That was more effective than Andy's inaudible music. I missed the Rhys klaxon. It's very funny.
Let's dive in, shall we, with some up-to-date, hot off the press transfer news. It's a Sheffield Wednesday theme, which I love. So
49 quid.
Got well. I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe we could ask them if we do pay them well for Barry Bannon is one of the first names who's been linked. Obviously, a massive stalwart for Sheffield Wednesday midfielder, aged 35, still very highly rated by all accounts. But he's one of the names which we've been linked with. I think it was Alan Nixon in the Sun. And at the same time, another midfielder who most recently played for them but was released, Stuart Armstrong, Scottish midfielder. So those are probably the two newest names that we've been linked in. I mean, we are being linked with a lot of central midfielders, sort of that experienced age bracket. I wouldn't be surprised if, that is the type of player we are looking for. What are people's thoughts on Bannon? Because that's probably the name I know the most out of the two.
Yeah, I mean, Sheffield Wednesday fans love him. They think he's great. He's by far their most creative spark, and he's done it in the Premier League as well. I do think they are looking for a new attacking mid. I think that's probably one of the key areas he's looking towards. So other names in that frame were the likes of Ericsson, if that was ever a goer. But Bannon does seem a little more realistic. Other people, do we think Ryan Hardy's a done deal?
I don't know about that. No, Tim's got a well. Go on, Tim.
No, it was brought to my attention yesterday, the day before, that both Ryan and Rob are following him on Instagram. Now, that's usually, why would you suddenly be following Ryan Hardy? Have they been keeping tabs on him keeping an eye on Plymouth ever since they beat Liverpool in the Cup last year? Probably unlikely. So that, I mean,
it's usually a promising sign. Isn't
usually a promising sign, and I think he is a very, very solid acquisition if we get him. I know there's a few Championship clubs been sniffing around him, so if we land him, he offers a lot. He's very, very mobile. Knows what
6'2".
His
goal record isn't that bad.
I'd be happy with that. I would be very, very happy with that.
One word that they used to describe him quite often on their forum was streaky. So I was like, does he like bacon? Does he like, running down the street naked? But they basically said he scores quite a lot of goals in sort of clusters, but he has got double figures, I think, for the past few seasons now. And I think last time we were linked with him, his release clause was $1 million, but there's rumours. Actually 2 million, wasn't it? Was it 2 million? And then there's rumours that as a result of relegation, that's reduced to something more like 700k, which all speculative, but that would be an absolute steal for an experienced Championship striker who can get that many goals. So it's hard to say really, because people were expecting a signing this week based off there was the whole drone episode. But from what I'm told, Parky's been overseas enjoying his summer break, so I don't know if there would have been any sort of real activity without him being there on the scene, as it were. So maybe a case of watch this space for next week.
It'd be the first Hardy since Phil, wouldn't it, for Wrexham? Is that right? I can't think of anybody else. I know it's spelled differently, but
it's going to be time to readapt the chant then, isn't it, for the modern era? Surely.
But it was "You'll Never Beat," wasn't it?
Yeah.
How about "You'll Never Streak Like Hardy"?
There we go.
I've got him down as a streaker on the pitch. Right, he'll never streak like Hardy.
Hasn't happened in a while, so fair play. There's just one outgoing new one again via Alan Nixon, which is apparently Gillingham looking at Will Boyle. Gillingham run by that lovely Gareth Ainsworth, the hairy cornflake, as he likes to be known.
The Salop master.
Ward, it's come back again.
Yeah. I got something to say on this.
Yeah, go on.
I find quite a lot of the comments a bit disrespectful. about Danny Ward. People might I don't know. And I also think he is a championship level keeper. It's fair enough people saying he might not fit into the squad and he doesn't get above Arthur right now, and that's totally fair comment. I'm not saying those are disrespectful, but I've seen that many that are quite dismissive and that say he was never getting near. He's basically third choice, and I just think, hang on a second, he's played Premier League. He had basically had a rough couple of seasons and he struggled to recover from that. But I don't think it's fair to write people off like that. And, he's a Wrexham boy, he's friend of the pod. He's been on and he's a top guy. And I don't necessarily think that gets you anything. But also, I think people are being a bit unfair with their characterizations of his career, personally.
I just think he needs to go and play games. And if he thinks he can do that with us and starts well, then there is a good keeper there.
100%.
Arthur is our number one. I mean, there's even been some talk that Arthur might move on. Did you hear that, Tim?
Somebody said £5 million tabled somewhere by a rival club, but it tells you a lot about Arthur in terms of the strides he's made in a short space of time. We're just assuming he's going to be able to make the step up to the Championship, by the way. I mean, you would expect him to do that because of where he's come from, the grounding he's had, and the kind of, the sort of momentum he's had with us. But there's no guarantees. It's kind of like we're starting next season with a blank canvas. Just because some of these players have played this level before doesn't necessarily mean a lot at this point in time, because a lot of those players around them haven't. So some are going to be wanting to prove the fact that they can. Some are not going to be able to. So I think with that in mind, you kind of got to. I know what Rhys is saying about Danny Ward, and I agree to a certain extent. But I just think, again, when you've spent more time on the bench than you have playing, it's going to catch up with you, and it has caught up with him.
All I'd say about keepers is I think it's the most important position to start well, and I'd put that for Arthur in a new division as much as I would put it for Danny Ward joining. If you start well, it makes everything a lot easier. I mean, remember we had a keeper called Scott Shearer who came in with such a good pedigree. He started badly, he was gone within 6 months. I think if you get your tail up early doors, it makes such a difference for keepers and strikers.
And we're just assuming that Callum Burton is going to stick around as well. But remember, when he came in, he did really, really, really well. He might reach a point, because goalkeepers in a funny position, aren't they? He might decide, I'm not going to be getting in here. And if you are bringing Danny Ward in, where does that leave me? Maybe I need to go and seek first team football elsewhere as well. So you just never really know. That's a sort of area of the squad that can change so quickly. As we saw last year, obviously we're very unlucky with the injuries, but I would love it in a weird way. I think I would love it if Wardy came in and proved a lot of people wrong, because I hear it often.
Got his Wales space, got his Wales
space. So would I.
A lot of people say, "Oh, he wasted his career." Look, if I'm Danny Ward and I'm still getting paid, whether I'm playing games or not, he's still done very well for himself and what he's achieved. So I just think he could have achieved more, and he knows he could have achieved more.
And that's fair. But also, no one knows what's going on in a club environment. He might be a real model professional who thinks, no, I want to get my place back, and he hasn't managed to do it. But I don't, I think the idea of someone just sort of picking their nose on the bench, it's a little bit unfair sometimes, because you don't know what the dynamics were. And yeah, I would like to think that he would give it a real good shot. I mean, he played in the Premier League. He was on some really good form, and then his form dropped, but he's a proven Premier League goalkeeper. I know his form then dropped, but that happens, and that doesn't mean that he couldn't do a job in the Championship. He's not.
He's also an international keeper, and he's gone into that environment and coped. I remember, Tim and I were in Bordeaux, where it was a shock that he started, and he did not let anyone down that match.
Yeah, and he's kind of in this almost last chance saloon now, where I think you can almost, it's a weird situation the Welsh set up, in that we've not had a lot of good goalkeepers coming through in recent years. So we've had to rely on Wayne Hennessy, who's like 78 now. We've had to rely on Danny Ward and these players that, Hennessy at Palace and Forest never getting any game time, but he was still being played. It was the same with Ward. Wasn't getting any club game time, but he's still being played because Wales had no choice. Whereas now you've got Cal Darlow as a preferred number one. started in goal for Leeds towards the latter end of that promotion winning season for them. Great. But Danny Ward's in this situation now where it's kind of like a last chance saloon. Do you want to go and play at a World Cup? Do you want to push Darlow for that number one spot? Because if you do, you need to go and find first team football somewhere and nail down a spot and perform week in, week out. So this might be the opening for him. Don't know, but it's kind of like, if you really want to go to the World Cup, this is his last chance.
And also, he's a Wrexham boy, as I've mentioned, and he's come on here and said that he would love to end his career at Wrexham one day. I can't remember the exact thing that he said, but he might be thinking, you know what, I would love to give it a shot. And he probably knows, I'm coming in as second choice. But, Arthur was out for 6 to 8 weeks last year. You never know what might happen in the season. So
I think before we sort of move on from this, the only thing about Ward is people are thinking he's a Premier League keeper. He's going to be on big money. Do we really want to take that amount of budget we've got and spend it on him? That's the key. That's the crutch to it. If we had an unlimited pot, Danny Ward's a no-brainer for us to battle our number one.
Oh, totally. And that's valid comment. But I felt that some of it has been a little bit turning their nose up. And I think some people need to maybe wind their necks in a little bit, personally.
Oh, that's the clip.
That's me told.
Clip that
Not
up
you,
right
Tim.
here.
Not you, Tim.
You saw the message I put it, you liar. Scoping to me.
Clip that up right now. That sassy Rhys is back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we there was a big call for nasty Rhys.
There we go. Was there evil Rhys?
Maybe you should like reappear once a month.
Okay, fine. That's me done now until July.
Just do it in like I was going to say a false moustache. You've already got a moustache. A false moustache.
just get some of those joke ones with the glasses and the big curly moustache.
Yeah, right.
Just put the Barry Chuckle mask on. That'll do.
Oh yeah.
Just do that. Let's see what it looks like.
Oh no, it's broken. I'll put Paul on.
Oh.
Paul
is broken as well.
While Rhys is modelling this beautiful mask, there is. I have been told to look out for some kit news next week, so we shall see if that retranspires. But yeah, I'm hoping so. We need something to get us excited, don't we?
Any on the kits? I think there are a lot about like a light blue for the third one, maybe a blue and white.
Yeah, Patagonia type of theme. I think someone said they'd have to nail it because it's one of those that could easily go quite wrong. As a design like Wrexham in blue just seems to send people shuddering.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan, so I'll be interested to see that.
Do you remember? Do you remember the concept kit from years ago of the Argentinian type one? I don't know if you can see this, but
was that the Adidas one?
Yeah,
sort of, mate, sort of. Yeah.
Horrible.
I mean, Rhys is not a fan of Argentina.
No. I love Argentina.
He wants the Falklands back.
Moving on. Is it time? Is that it for the Randall Roundup?
Yeah.
Okay.
Reese calls them the Malvinas.
It's time now for everyone's favourite part of the week, which is YouTube, if you want to. And
Need
this
a jingle
week's
for that.
comment...
Need
Need
a jingle.
a jingle for that. This week's comment comes from CFKS Chala, who said, with Andy Gilpin still attacking James McClean, could we settle this and set up a charity boxing match between the two, with proceeds going to Wrexham Miners Trust? 18 rounds, no padding. Winner on knockout or points. Come on. We have to make
18 rounds, then. 18, did you say?
Each round 10 minutes long.
God, news of your hatred is really getting round, isn't it?
Thing is, though, Andy, what do you think?
I think it's a terrible idea, and I think he'd absolutely batter me.
Why do you hate our mining heritage? What have you got against Wrexham Miners Trust?
Yeah, I'm not going through this McClean thing again, right? I'm not going as a person and what he does off the pitch. I mean, he's great, and I think he's great for
you just think he's shit on the pitch.
Yeah, you won't do it for charity, you type bastard. That's shocking. That is from you.
All right,
fucking. It'd be like Snatch, when Mickey knocks him out in one punch. That'd be it. Gilpin,
yeah, short. Yeah, isn't he a like boxer as well?
Oh yeah.
Basically, if you want to see Andy Gilpin and James McClean go head to head in a dust up in the ring for charity, please in the comments to all this just put yes to Gilpin. Just put yes Gilpin That'll do.
And
Yeah.
tag James McClean in.
Or just no hashtag Team Gilpin. We'll give him a bit of support.
Yeah.
Or if you're hashtag Team Gilpin, put that. If you're hashtag Macca, put hashtag Macca. And let's see what sort of level.
Or just don't do anything. Just carry on.
You can have that octopus as a mascot if you want.
Right.
I've been seeing octopuses within about.
Before we wrap up this episode, do we have any other business? Actually, what narrowly didn't make YouTube's comment of the week this week was someone complaining that I ate digestive biscuits while we were recording. And you know what? I was rattled because you know what? We do this on a Sunday, and I do it just after I've put the baby down to bed. And if I want to have 2 digestive biscuits and dip them in my tea and have them after a very long day, then I will. However, you might notice I don't have anything today. And I was going to do it. So you've won. I hope you're happy. I'm miserable, sat here without a tea and without a biscuit. But anyway, let's move on. Any other business? Tim, the pitch is down.
Between Andy getting knocked out by Macca and you chucking in like digestives to save him, which is it's all going on. I don't know what's fucking happening. Any other business? I can't even think. We've managed to.
Stands coming down.
Yeah, there's pictures of that coming down. There's now nice green grass appearing on the ground, which is lovely. New shop is looking. I went past the new club shop before, so that's getting fitted out, which looks good. It'll be. I think it's the old H&M store, which is 2 stories. So, but from what I can remember, what they said in the press release, it's going to be like a multi-use area. So there's going to be areas for content creation. There's going to be a family only area. So I don't know if they're going to have like a little, small pitch for kids. But I don't know. Either way, the fact that it would seem touchwood that there's going to be some permanence now to a club shop in the kind of the heart of town. Finally, after how many several pop-ups we've had in the past, brief ones, and so yeah, it's going to be. I just hope. I presume there will be. There's going to be some sort of, club mega store opening when the COP is built as well. But it'd be interesting to see if that one remains in situ once that happens. But apart from that, it's been a fairly week, isn't it? Really,
well, it's good that we got Welcome to Wrexham, isn't it? These days, what did we do in the days before we had a documentary? God, it was miserable times. Plenty to discuss. But yes,
just on that, I think we've only really touched on the Archie stuff, and for me, that was the bit that really got me. It was very well done. You just his face when he saw Ryan on the phone was just worth everything, wasn't it? It was such a touching scene, I thought.
Again, it's like the other week, isn't it, when I said that if I could show any part to somebody to tell you what Welcome to Wrexham is, it'd be this. It's the same sort of situation again. It's that this is a very, very, very tough personal situation for a very loving family, and then you've got people like Paul Mullin turning up to support him regularly because obviously he doesn't live too far away. You got Ryan phoning up and telling him that I think in this occasion we can use the word shit and it'll be fine. So just adding a little bit of comic relief in there to all that, and that's an ongoing battle and story that we all hope and pray is going to have a very happy ending in the future seasons to come.
Yeah, and I think the club are still, the owners and the club generally are very good at those situations and being an open club. And we've discussed that before, that's going to be the challenge, and that's been discussed openly as well by the owners and by Shaun Harvey, that the club remains a community-focused club. And they've done that very well, which is always great. But yes, thank you everyone for listening. That's it for Fearless and Devotion this week. We'll be back very soon with more content for you, which we're looking forward to before the season starts. And in the meantime, thanks for listening, and sign up to Andy's dead horse of a newsletter. Goodbye.
Hashtag Team Gilpin. Cheers.
Hashtag Team Macca.